Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to Kids Are Talking. This is episode 34. Kids are talking tonight about conspiracy theories. Okay. This is going to be a great show because tonight we have a very special co host. Dr. Neville-Shepard is here from the University of Arkansas, and we're going to learn something, hopefully dig deep, hopefully find out some information. Maybe he has some secret facts for us. I don't know, but the panel, our past panelists have wanted to run this show for a while. So here we are. Let's get rolling because kids are talking.
I want to hear everyone's different perspectives and let everyone know that they're not alone.
Layers, deeper meanings, ambiguity, and stuff for analysis.
Really impacts people in a lot of different ways. A way to escape, see things differently.
This sort of dangerous environment that we're all sending our kids to. As a college applicant, I've experienced a lot of this myself.
There's more than just the surface level story, and that there's a lot of analysis that you can do in terms of the actual intent.
Hey, Dr. Neville-Shepard, thank you so much for joining us for the show today.
All right. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so why don't you just give the audience and the panel just a little, background of yourself and kind of what inspires you to study about conspiracy theories? Because I did, stumble upon a lot of your articles and my research and your podcasts, and it's just a fascinating rabbit hole to go down.
Great. Good. So I'm Dr. Neville-Shepard. I'm an associate professor of communication at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I specialize in political communication, argument, what we would call rhetoric, the way that we talk and try to influence each other. And I am really interested in fringe politics, and I'm really interested in how people gravitate to sort of extremist ideologies. I was interested in conspiracy theories actually when I had a talk with some friends over the fire at one point. And I remember somebody who's highly educated responded to my criticism of the idea that Bush caused 9/11, that he was behind the 9/11 attacks. Somebody responded, well, if it was true, I wouldn't be surprised. And as somebody who looked into it quite often, realized that there was a lot of evidence that was sort of manufactured and produced by the conspiracy movement. It baffled me. So I've spent pretty much 10 to 15 years trying to understand why people believe in this kind of stuff. I teach a class pretty frequently at the University of Arkansas on conspiracy theories and do a lot of research on it as well.
And what's the craziest conspiracy theory that one of your students has brought to you?
Well, I think the David Icke lizard people conspiracy theory is the one that I do find probably the most extreme because it comes from one person, David Icke. A lot of conspiracy theories do develop from a social movement in response to like a real event that happened that doesn't have a very easy explanation for why it happened. Think about a downed airliner that crashes over the ocean. We don't know why it crashed, but then a lot of people develop answers. Lizard people came from the work of one guy in England. And it has taken off. And so it really highlights that some people might believe in conspiracy theories. Some people might be trolling us with extremist ideas just to see what our responses are.
Okay, listen, I think one of our panelists did want to talk about lizard people. So I'm not going to steal a spotlight from them. Let's bring them all out. We have some returning panelists and some new panelists. So we have Mikey's here. Let me turn off the theme here so we get their names. We have Blake. We have Steven, and we have, Hayden has joined us today. So welcome, everybody. So why don't you guys all just, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and just let us know, tell us who you are and what about conspiracy theories made you want to come on and talk about them today. So I'll let you start, Steven, since this was, I think you spawned the idea of the conspiracy theory show. So let's, why don't you take it away?
All right, so this idea kind of originated back when I first joined the show about the movies. When we were discussing, other topics, and this came right around the time where Blake and I were actually involved in creating a short little documentary for school about a conspiracy theory called Project Sunshine. We could talk about that a little bit later, but basically, when we were researching to make the documentary, we just found like a lot of really interesting facts, and how this supposedly conspiracy ended up actually being true. And so, we just kind of thought, how many more theories like that are there? And we thought it'd be an interesting topic to discuss. So yeah, I won't take all the credit. It was, Blake also was very interested in talking about this.
Great. Let's see. Next we have Blake.
Yeah, all right. I was on the movie panel as well. I kind of wanted to do this because I think conspiracy theories are, a lot of fun. The idea that, not everything is as it seems, that there's something going on in the background. And, Stephen and I looked into Project Sunshine in that documentary, and it's a conspiracy theory that kind of turned out to be true. Well, again, we'll talk about it later, but it kind of lends to the idea that maybe the government is covering stuff up. Maybe there is stuff that is happening that we just can't see.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely want to talk about Project Sunshine. I know that's been a hot topic. We also have Victor. How you doing, Victor? Welcome.
Doing good. I'm Victor. I was also on the movie panel a while ago. Unfortunately, I had the flu, so I didn't say much. But now I'm feeling fantastic. So hopefully I could talk about some cool conspiracies, because I really like conspiracy theories. I think they're cool.
And which conspiracy theory specifically got you interested in the most?
9/11.
9/11. Okay, yeah, that's a new one, but a big one, right? So
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we also have Mikey here. Mikey, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. I'm honored to be here. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm Mikey. I've never been here before. I love lizard people.
Yeah, you were mentioning backstage about lizard people.
I was.
Is this a theory? Like you really believe in it?
Yeah,
or...
especially after what happened today. I was walking in the hall and I bumped into this guy, and he just made the oddest expression to me. He just went back and just went. He can't be a real human. And after that, I was convinced he's a lizard. He eats flies. He's not real. So yeah, today especially.
Okay, well, hopefully we can talk about lizard people as well. And we also have Hayden joining us. Hayden, welcome. I don't think you've been on a show before.
Yeah, I'm a first-time panelist. I'm Hayden. Blake invited me to be on the show. Excited to be here. Excited to talk about some conspiracy theories.
And which theory got you involved the most in learning about them? Was there one specific?
Yeah, probably the moon landing. I think it was fake.
Okay. I think that's a common one. So, Dr. Neville-Shepard, what does this all mean? Like, you hear all these kids come up here and they have all these theories they want to believe, right? So how do we determine what's true and what's not?
All right. So first, I think these guys have a good sense of humor, and I like them. It is hard oftentimes to tell how many people believe in conspiracy theories or whether they actually just know how to make the argument, right? And so I think we can tell what the difference is between a real and fake conspiracy theory the way that we can tell anything, which is to assess the evidence and then to find other people who could assess the evidence and try to find whether or not the evidence is internally consistent and externally consistent with what other experts say about a situation. I think conspiracy theories oftentimes have a lot of flawed evidence. They have flawed evidence that will oftentimes operate on the existence of a conspiracy theory because we can't find evidence that demonstrates that it's false. Lizard people work this way. If everybody is a hidden lizard person, then you can never disprove that anybody is a lizard person. And so it's this circular kind of logic. We'd say that it's epistemically flawed as a theory because it's not falsifiable. Whereas I think the kinds of theories about what caused the plane crash, what was behind the moon landing hoax, I think you can always try to assess the evidence and figure out if you are taken in by it, why you're taken in by it, and then evaluate it.
So who is it that wanted to talk about the moon landing?
That was me.
I do have a question for the panelists.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
First and foremost, I mean, there are a lot of people here who seem sympathetic to conspiracy theories, or at least in the sense that they're amused by them, right? And so I do want to know from the panelists, where are you learning about conspiracy theories? How are you learning about them?
So a couple of the conspiracy theories that, well, one of the reasons that Stephen and I first started looking at conspiracy theories was for this documentary. I don't know, we just thought it'd be an interesting topic to cover. But one of the ways that I learned about a more major conspiracy, the JFK assassination, was through forensics. A couple other people in our class have taken that. But we kind of learned about how the trajectory of the shot in the film doesn't quite line up with, what we've heard, or how it kind of looks like there'd have to be a second shooter for how quickly he was able to, get those, I think it was 3 shots off.
Right.
At JFK's car. And of course, the grassy knoll, how it kind of looks like JFK's head jerks a different way than it should have.
So where did you do research or learn about the JFK conspiracy theory? Like, how did you become aware of it? And then how did you start thinking about all of its arguments?
I feel like the JFK assassination, theory is, it's one of the more popular ones. You just kind of hear about it, like either maybe like mentioned in a book somewhere or brought up maybe as a joke, like, oh, they killed JFK, blah, 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 whatever. But I feel like I'm leaning more towards, it's plausible, just because of what I learned through that forensics class. I mean, I think my teacher was just kind of having some fun with us. He showed us this video, and then he would stop frame by frame and analyze certain things about it. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I feel like it could have happened because of the way that his bodyguards were called back from the front car, and they obviously look like they're confused when they're being pulled back from security detail. The car is completely exposed. He shouldn't have had such a clear shot at the president. And I'm pretty sure they said that they had already cased all of the buildings on the presidential route, but they seem to have missed the clock tower, or was it warehouse? I don't know. It's been a while since I watched that video, but
if I could just answer the question,
Cool.
I'm not in the context of the JFK conspiracy, but at least probably the conspiracy I've researched the most, and probably, I don't know about Blake, but probably one of them was Project Sunshine, which I guess is no longer a conspiracy theory, but the way we researched that was pretty much the way we even first heard about it was we knew we wanted to do a documentary on conspiracy theories that turned out to be true. So that's exactly what we looked up on Google. And so we found that, we found the name, we looked at Wikipedia, we looked at some of the sources from Wikipedia, we watched some videos, and then we went and found some old news articles, and then all of like the files from this experiment, which it was, in short, I don't know if everyone here knows what it is, but basically, it was after the bombs were dropped in Japan after World War II, or I guess towards the end of World War II. The government wanted to understand the effects of radiation on young children, and so they actually, without the consent of many parents and without them even knowing, were basically taking stillborn babies and deceased children and testing samples on them. So obviously very unethical, and it wasn't even, the public wasn't even aware until the 90s and 2000s. But yeah, so we looked at some of the old files and some of the old articles and whatever from when this stuff was first released to the public, and that was probably where we got most of our information. So I think, I don't know, that could be that's just how we went about looking up that conspiracy specifically. I don't know if in the context of all of them there's a lot of information or very little information. I thought there was very little, but because it was kind of hard to find a lot of these articles, but and it's obviously not as popular as the JFK assassination or the new moon landing or 9/11 or anything related to that. So, but that's how we went about researching for our documentary.
So how do people learn about the 9/11 truth movement, or perhaps the moon landing conspiracy theory? Where do you get evidence for that?
Well, Hayden, you talked about the moon landing. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, I mean, I just really don't think there's I think it's completely it can't be a coincidence that we did it once and then somehow weren't able to do it again. And I also read up on something about the bulbs that were used to film the moon landing, and how they didn't exist during that time period. But I don't know, that could be untrue, but it's just something I read. So
where did you read it? Do you remember?
No, it was a while ago.
Okay.
I've also seen analysis of the pictures of the way the flag is positioned and that it had to be in a gravity or it wouldn't have been falling in that manner.
Yeah, there was there was kind of blowing a little bit, and that wouldn't happen if there was no wind. But
right.
I don't believe I believe that we went to the moon, but I know that is one.
Well, there are a number of claims in the conspiracy theory about the moon landing, if we want to talk about that, particularly that the shadows don't line up with where the sun would be in the pictures. They believe there's lighting behind the people who are taking the photographs, because you see a bright reflection in some of the space masks. The crosshairs supposedly are behind people when the crosshairs should be in front of them. A lot of this was popularized in the 1990s, early 2000s with a Fox News. It wasn't Fox News. It was a Fox show just called "Did We Land on the Moon?" A guy with a really horrible voice, and then a lot of people who are just conspiracy theorists sort of posing as experts on the moon landing. And this was sort of in the same era when Fox would run shows like When Animals Attack. It was just content that was very cheap to produce to fill a lot of time on cable television, but it's highly addictive. And then eventually it became the History Channel. And so that kind of formula later became the Ancient Aliens formula, which is just really entertaining conspiracy theories, and which is why we like them, right? Because it's what we would call sophistry. It's trying to prove something that we otherwise think would be false to be true, and accepting the burden of having to do that to see if we can actually persuade a lot of people of something that seems pretty false. All right, but I think a good question for Stephen, I guess, or a good thing that Stephen brings up is Stephen says they were researching a conspiracy theory that turned out to be true, right? And there are many other conspiracy theories that become have just been accepted as true. Project Sunshine makes me think a little bit about the Tuskegee syphilis studies that, had they not been proven, might have just sounded like conspiracy theories from a marginalized community that thought they were being victimized by the government. But it turns out that they were. And that's why we have institutional review boards to make sure that people are going to conduct research ethically. But Stephen or someone else on the panel, I'm wondering if you can tell me what's the difference between a true conspiracy theory, one that's been verified, and sort of one that hasn't.
I mean, I can go. I don't know, like, if there's like an exact way to determine. I mean, obviously, I think that something that these conspiracies that turned out to be true, like, have in common is there's like actual, like, recorded factual, like, evidence that it can be traced back to, and a lot of conspiracies, like, I mean, a lot of conspiracies are based off circumstantial evidence or like, I don't know how to describe it, but basically just like maybe observations, but not exactly like real facts. I mean, I don't know if Mikey wants to delve deeper into the lizard theory, but I don't, as far as I'm aware, there's really no factual evidence to back that one up. I do think that there's something to say about, like, so in my opinion, and I believe not that many conspiracies, but I do think they're worth, like, paying attention to, because, again, obviously there are the cases where they turned out to be true when they otherwise would not have been. So I think it's foolish to blindly follow a conspiracy as well as blindly dismiss one.
Cool. Don't you feel like the more conspiracy theories you look at and prescribe to, like, you start getting like a mistrust, like institutional mistrust of the government and of people that are trying to, as kids, right? We're trying to educate you. You're still in school, and how do you believe things if you now find out things that they're telling you aren't true? How do you believe any of it, right?
Yeah,
I feel like that's how a lot of conspiracy theories or conspiracy theories as like a topic became popular. 60s, 70s, when government mistrust was at its highest. These ideas start to become popular because, I don't trust the government. Maybe the government was behind this, or, maybe they are trying to cover something up. And then you have stuff like MK Ultra or Project Sunshine that come out, and it just kind of deepens that mistrust between members of the public and the government.
Blake, you're right on. So public trust in the government collapsed with the Vietnam War and with the Watergate scandal. That was a multi-month, actually multi-year scandal that started with accusations that weren't proven until some of these confidential sources produced enough evidence. I want to ask a question just to get to the bottom of something. What's the fakest conspiracy theory? What's just like the dumbest conspiracy theory that you've heard that you think is just sort of a waste?
I got two. I would say either flat Earth or the Holocaust being fake.
Okay, so those are good examples. Other people?
I'll second
yeah,
the flat Earth one.
Yeah, I'll second the flat. Oh, sorry, Stephen.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I thought the flat Earth one, and another one which I kind of find funny to me is that Robert Mueller's a demon pedophile. That one.
Okay.
Yeah.
QAnon. Okay. Blake?
I'm not really sure what I'd consider the fakest. There's like a bunch of, well, you have stuff like around 9/11, like, for example, the meme that went around that started out as a theory, like jet fuel can't melt steel beams. The problem is, like, there's a fine line between conspiracy theories and just like straight up lies that people like to make up because they think it's funny. And I feel like that's one of them. Like, there are legitimate questions people have about 9/11, and I feel like stuff like that, you just kind of throw in and discredits maybe conspiracy theories with more background.
Victor, did you want to throw one in?
Yeah, I agree. The 9/11 one's kind of doesn't really make much sense because you don't like. I don't know. I think if you crash a plane into any building, it'll fall. You know,
What
I
about
don't think
Building
it'd
7?
melt. What about what?
Building 7.
Building 7?
It's
I don't know.
it's the building that wasn't hit by a plane. So let me ask
Oh
you
yeah.
this though. So you've now told me, probably like 5 or 6 conspiracy theories that you actually agree are just dumb, right? They seem like they're based on lies, they're based on bad evidence. But many of these conspiracy theories have documentaries. They have lots of websites. They have lots of social media pages. Why are they dumb while other conspiracy theories might be worth entertaining? Despite the fact that they all present evidence, they all have claims, they all have people who provide testimony, they have lots of images. Why are those dumb and the others are worth considering? What makes one worth considering and the others just simply false?
I feel like
You go, bro.
oh, Steven, you can go.
No, you got it.
All right, fine. I feel like one thing that gives some conspiracies more credit is if they're addressed or not by a different party. So for example, I just had a conspiracy theory I was thinking about. Yeah, let's say the jet fuel one, for example. You can propagate that all you want, but then you have scientists that actually test that, or you just look at the melting point of steel and jet fuel, and it's stuff like that is what makes that just become a flat out lie and no longer a conspiracy theory. I feel like it's a conspiracy theory until there's ample evidence against it, or there's enough people saying enough things in the contrary to it.
Kind of responding to the question as well. I think it's sort of like conspiracy theories are on like almost like a tier list of like how, I don't know, plausible they are. And the more
Good.
plausible ones, I won't say necessarily have less of a concrete answer, but like I think like the flat earth theory has been like pretty much disproven by like 99.999% of people. And there is a like there's a lot of evidence to support that the earth is not flat, and it's much more concrete than, let's say, like something we maybe can't answer, like I don't know, Bigfoot. Like it's just I mean I'm not gonna say Bigfoot's real or not, but like we don't really have that answer. Whereas I think there is a very, very like real answer to the flat earth question. So I think that's probably the biggest difference.
Why do you think people want to believe in conspiracy theories? So
They're
you
funny.
said, for instance, that the flat Earth conspiracy theory is sort of dumb. It's easy to refute with space satellites, right? Billionaires aren't trying to go to space just to fool us. They're doing that because it's profitable, and eventually mining, other planets could possibly be profitable. Space tourism is profitable. We've been to space, but why do people like Kyrie Irving, for instance, dabble with flat Earth conspiracy theories, and why are there so many online communities? Why do people want to believe it?
I feel like a lot of people. Can I say something, Steven?
I was just gonna say I think there's part of it that is just like being different, like just wanting to be like unique and have this interesting idea. But the other part of it is like just having I think the other part of it is probably just a more willingness to like not follow the mainstream like people. Like I mean, as ridiculous as I think Kyrie Irving and his flat earth theory is, like he's not like, I don't know, I guess like the best way to call it would be like a sheep. he's
Yeah.
not going to follow the general masses. He's willing to like, I guess, for better or worse, like think solely for himself. And again, that goes back to my thoughts, and like I don't think conspiracy theories should be blindly, or not even blindly, but like so passionately followed or passionately denied. I think people should really just consider all possibilities, and then you know, have some belief in maybe different ideas, but like again, just make sure you look at all of the facts, not just the ones that, you know, support your belief.
Okay. So what I heard from your Kyrie example is that some people want to be unique. And so they'll follow sort of extreme lines of argument and have fun with it because it makes them different from other people. For the other people in the room, why do people follow conspiracy theories, even like the fake ones that we talked about?
I know I interrupted you, Blake. You gotta have something to say.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of wanted to just say the same thing. Like, you know, a lot of people, or I guess not a lot of people, but some people want to just be contrarians. You know, they don't want to go along with what everyone else thinks. I feel like maybe also for some people it's kind of like faith. You know, it's something to hold on to, maybe in a more silly way. You know, it's just believing in this idea that, you know, maybe doesn't have tons of foundation in reality or, you know, what you can see, but, you know, there's enough there that keeps you believing it.
Good. So
Or
we've talked a little bit about trust. And so when you don't trust the government for whatever reason, it becomes a little bit, you know, sensible that you think the government's up to no good, or perhaps has done something bad to some group. Is it possible that conspiracy theories are harmful?
I'd say some of them are. For example, like the let's see, what is it? The like dancing Israeli theory about 9/11. If you know what that is, it's like that there's a bunch of pictures of, I think it was Israeli officials in New York City pointing at the World Trade Center and laughing. I think it was like a day or two before the planes hit. And then all the evidence of like where they were staying was like scrubbed clean a week or two later. I feel like while you might look at that and be like, okay, you know, there's some truth to it, that's also harmful because it makes you, it builds a hatred for a group that has been marginalized in the past, and it gives people that already dislike that group just, you know, more reasons to dislike them or harbor mistrust for them.
Good. And I think people would point out that the Holocaust denial does the same thing, that it spreads anti-Semitic thoughts and makes it sort of mainstream and acceptable. Are there other harms to believing in conspiracy theories? Because we can talk. Go ahead.
I think like just one. I mean, not thinking about how it can harm like other people, but you know, I mean, some conspiracies, like especially those people who are like so obsessed with one or more, you know, you can get so distracted from everything else in your life and like kind of like go down the rat hole and just obsess over conspiracy theories, and that can be really harmful to, you know, your life, your job, your family. And I don't know, I think people who fall in that category are almost like probably in like the worst position, because I feel like it's really hard to get out of that obsession once you kind of go down that path.
And so you might even say we saw this with January 6th, right? That people stormed the Capitol because they thought an election had been stolen. And when asked why they did it, they said Q told them to do it. And where do you learn about QAnon? It's from Reddit. And you said rabbit hole, and that's how all of my friends describe hanging out on Reddit all day, is that they just keep reading more and more and more threads, and then they just sort of get lost in it. So
it's a great
that's
reason
a good
to
point.
stay off of.
To stay off Reddit, is that what you said?
Yeah, don't go on Reddit. It sucks. It'll drain you. It'll
I
make
do
you
have
have
friends.
no friends.
I have friends who look depressed by it, and then they just say, "I don't want to get started." So we have the examples from QAnon. We have other examples, though. There are conspiracy theories about Sandy Hook, right? That led conspiracy theorists to perhaps be a little irrational. What did those conspiracy theorists do that would make us say that they're in a different subset? Some people hang out on forums and theorize about the flat Earth, but some people take it to extremes. What do conspiracy theorists do when they perhaps get the most extreme?
I feel like a good.
Just to comment on like your mention of Sandy Hook, like I know most of us here like live really close to the Newtown in that area, and so there's been people who've like come into our school that we've heard that talk about their experience and their loved ones who've been killed, and so I think above all else, like those testimonies are like the most persuading, like to me, because you can really like hear the emotion in their voice. I know this isn't exactly answering your question, but I just wanted to talk about that.
It is. So I think what you're demonstrating, Stephen, is that sometimes conspiracy theories seem to be fun, but sometimes conspiracy theories tend to demonize other people. They demonize other people who are actually real, right?
Right.
So JFK, that conspiracy theory typically targets the CIA. It targets mob bosses.
Oh, do we lose him?
I think so.
I think he was cut off from the CIA. He mentioned the CIA and he went silent.
I know. I'm not surprised. The CIA's
Must have killed himself with 2 bullet
after us.
shots to the back of the head.
He's done.
Anyway, Mr. Budd, what are your thoughts on conspiracy theories?
Oh, here he's back. Yeah, so we assume that you were talking about the CIA and they cut you off because you froze. So I think that it is definitely the Big Brother's watching. I think you just proved that, and we can assume that they have massive amounts of bots and observers out there to keep us quiet. So I think we're onto something.
Well, I think what I was trying to demonstrate is there are conspiracy theories that are about just random government people, and then conspiracy theories that are about real people who've been in the middle of real tragedies, and then they get swept up into these conspiracy theories and want nothing to do with it, right? And so I think it was Stephen Blake who said there's a spectrum of conspiracy theories. I like to say the same thing. There are theories that Avril Lavigne was replaced by a body double, or that Paul McCartney was replaced by a body double. Nobody cares, right? And if that happened, nobody's harmed by it. But conspiracy theories that say that a mass shooting was falsified, that encourage people to go out and do that research, they harm people, right? They harm those families that you were talking about, and it demonstrates that there's something at stake in conspiracy culture. So,
can I just
please
comment on one thing you said? I don't know if I'd necessarily agree with you that the research itself harms people. I think I don't know, like how loud people can be about the conspiracies and how, like adamant about their beliefs. Like, it's one thing to like do research on your own and, do that to yourself. It is what it is. It's probably not the best thing for you, but again, it's just to yourself. Like, I think that the actual harmful part, especially to most people who've been affected by certain tragedies or conspiracies, is like maybe the more vocal part of it, not necessarily the research part of it.
So I guess what I'm wondering is the vocal part really different from the research? Because I think the vocal part oftentimes causes people to get really invested in it so that they can sort of create more movement for the conspiracy theory. So I guess my question is there any harm to believing conspiracy theories?
I'd say there's harm in believing certain conspiracy theories, and then also what you do with that belief. For example, there was the Pizzagate conspiracy. That there was a ring of pizza shops that were trafficking young children in concert with like Epstein and his friends. And it kind of sounds silly until you realize that like there was some guy who took a gun and went into a pizza shop and started like firing his gun into the floor because he thought there was stuff underneath. And just stuff like that. It's like, some people just shouldn't believe conspiracies. Like they're just not good for some people because they take it too far. They take the believing and theorizing and then they act upon it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Blake. I mean, I think it's less about the conspiracy itself and more about the person who believes it, because like you could have like a really calm, quiet, kind of introverted individual who like researches Pizzagate on their own, looks for what evidence they can find, but like that person is not going to go into the pizza place like with a gun or anything. It's the different person who's going to do that. So back to your question about whether or not believing conspiracies is harmful. It's a tough question. I'm going to lean towards no, because I think it's actually like, I think it's more of a beneficial thing to at least consider I don't know. It's okay. So considering the possibility of a conspiracy theory, I think is a lot different than believing in one. And so like, at least considering the possibility of a conspiracy, I don't think is harmful, because at least you are considering that as well as maybe the more realistic, I guess, ideas. But I don't think it's a bad, I don't think it's a bad thing to like question, the reality, question authority, question, the government, because again, there have been examples where this stuff has happened, and I'm never going to be in support of people who blindly follow one route or another, whether it's believing conspiracies or not. I think there needs to be a balance.
So let me ask, how do we strike that balance? How do we encourage people to embrace critical thinking, to question authority, while also preventing some of those harmful conspiracy theories that might lead people to take sort of extremist actions? I've been thinking for mass shootings, there are some people who learn about the conspiracy theory and then go on to the porches of families and knock on doors to see evidence that the victims actually existed, and that's led to a lot of lawsuits. So you might be familiar with Alex Jones and Infowars, who has been sued by families from Sandy Hook in particular, and has lost a pretty devastating case and will probably be fined millions of dollars for spreading lies about those families. It's a defamation case. The question I have is how do we encourage critical thinking while also preventing people from going down these rabbit holes that you talked about?
Well, I just want to interject for a second, Doctor. I think we have to differentiate between bad actors and bad information, right? Because if someone wants to shoot someone, if someone's just a bad person, they're going to be out looking for a reason, right? So they're going to go out and they're going to say, oh, they're going to find conspiracy theories, or they're going to find someone that cut them off at a red light, or someone that's doing something that someone that's robbing a house that they think that it's their job to then go gun them down. I mean, that's different from distrusting information that's being fed to you, like the panelists have said, and being sheep, right? So I think there's a difference there, right?
It is. There's definitely a difference. The question is, what happens when we all contribute to misinformation that runs rampant online? Does misinformation contribute to extremist politics? And so, it's one thing to play around and try to discover whether or not the 2020 election was faked, right? But the more you amplify that theory, the more people consider that it might be acceptable, and the more likely they might actually storm the Capitol, right? And so I think that there's a lot of research that indicates the more that something is amplified, the more it becomes acceptable to somebody, that might lead to extremist actions. So they might have particular characteristics that would lead them to take those actions, but they do see those messages amplified. I guess the question is, how do we guard against amplifying it to the people who might be the bad actors? Or do we do that at all?
I think specifically about your question, like before, about how we promote critical thinking without the like, I don't know, extreme, like devastating effects of some conspiracy theories. I think honestly, it's just about making sure people have access to all information and the right information. Like, I don't know if it's considered a conspiracy theory. I wouldn't consider it conspiracy theory, but a lot of people think like the media is fake, and I don't necessarily disagree because I think the media is like really biased, especially like on both ends of the spectrum. Like if you like lean to the left, you're obviously gonna watch, you know, CNN or MSNBC. If you lean to the right, you're obviously gonna watch Fox News. And I don't think either of those routes are good. I think you need to find you either need to watch both or find different sources that have more of a like unbiased perspective. But there's a lot of like, I don't know, misinformation out there and disinformation out there, and I think that's really, really harmful. And I think a lot of these companies that are trying to promote their own agendas need to be held accountable because I think they're actually causing more harm than they are good.
Okay.
Look at what's going on in the Russian media right now and the way they're covering the aggression over there. I mean, that's misinformation at its best, right?
You're talking about the media coverage in Russia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess one thing that that we just heard Stephen say that I really like is that there are ways of being literate about mediated messages, knowing where they came from, knowing what they're saying, and being able to check it versus a lot of information. We might even be able to ask ourselves: is there a way to be conspiracy literate, to know that you're not necessarily going to be impacted negatively, even if you do want to just sort of read about them and enjoy them? Is there a way to be conspiracy literate?
Yeah, I think I could. Oh, Blake, you want to go?
Yeah, go.
Well, I think it's just like the idea of being open-minded, and not necessarily like if you look at a conspiracy theory and you immediately like refute it, just because you're not willing to accept something that you may disagree with. I think that would be quantified as being literate in conspiracy theories. Yeah.
No, that's a great answer. Knowing that the difference between something being persuasive or persuasive because we want it to be true, right? That's fantastic. Any others? What kind of advice could we offer people to be perhaps more conspiracy literate, so we have our defenses up when we confront this information?
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like in the modern age, it's really hard to kind of temper your belief of conspiracy theories with the truth, just because, you know, it's so easy to spread your beliefs online, and those can very easily get intermingled with the truth. You know, you might go on some message board somewhere, and someone, either you trust or someone who might have like authority there, says something, and, you know, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. A lot of the times I feel like some people might like take those words at face value just because, you know, they don't want to do their own research, or the person just claims to be more knowledgeable than them, so they don't think it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. I heard other voices.
Victor, you have anything to say? You want to add to the commentary here? You've been kind of quiet today. No?
So I simply asked, how could we be conspiracy literate, in the sense that we could put up our defenses so that we're not impacted by, you know, all the kinds of misinformation that might be hiding in true conspiracy theories?
Yeah, I think it's really just like if we're gonna like if we want to sort of like stop like so many people from blindly following these, I think it's a good idea to like openly like talk about them more and have like more like discussions and research published or something like that to just like just publicly show like what's true and what's not. I mean, there's facts about a lot of things, and you just got to like make it more available to the public to like make people open their eyes, because a lot of people choose what they want to believe. They'll sort of ignore facts or believe the facts they want to believe, and yeah, that's all I got.
I think that's. Go ahead.
I definitely agree with Victor. I actually don't even think that is limited to conspiracy theories. I think it's like all areas of discussion. Like I think there's not enough of that in recent times. Like a lot of people, especially in the context of conspiracies, like if somebody believes a conspiracy and one person really doesn't, they'll argue about it and not really come to any sort of like conclusion. Like it'll just be like them going their separate ways with the same exact opinions that they came into the conversation with, or not conversation, argument. But with the conversation, we're like the thoughts can actually be developed. And again, this is not limited to conspiracy theories. It's just limited to like beliefs in general. Like I think more progress will be made like in that practice.
So one thing that I hear you saying, Stephen, is that you're not a fan of censorship, of preventing the information from going out there. This has been a debate that Facebook and a lot of other companies have had, especially during the pandemic when there were anti-vaccine groups that popped up and were sort of spreading misinformation about the vaccine. You probably heard the conspiracy theory that the vaccine had nanotechnology that would control your mind. And Bill Gates was behind it, apparently. This was leading to a lot of people not getting vaccines and perhaps making it a lot harder to combat COVID-19 from spreading and ending the lockdown. The question I think a lot of those companies have seems to be something that you might even have opinions about. Are we better off with that information existing and people learning about it and perhaps combating it? Or are we better off with companies censoring that to prevent it from circulating in the first place?
I have a very, very strong opinion about that, and my firm answer is absolutely not. I do not think there should be any censorship in terms of that like regard, because I think the important thing is we teach people how to respond to like I guess alternate ideas and conspiracies, because I think silencing the groups, no matter what their beliefs are in general, is not like the manner we should approach, because then you're limiting people's freedoms. And even though, like it might have prevented people from, getting vaccinated, like people who are on maybe on like the fence about it, or like, that could sway them one way or the other, they should look at I think they should at least like, maybe consider the claims that both sides have, and then do their own research into it, not necessarily, listen to the media and say they're saying get vaccinated, or listen to these, extremist groups who are saying don't get vaccinated. You should look at both, be like, okay, you know what? Obviously, there's two sides to this. Let me go in and do my own research. And I think people need to be taught how to do that. I don't think it's up to, like corporations or the government to decide which speech is acceptable and which isn't.
Well,
But isn't it the problem is that it's actually reverse censorship, right? With the way the internet is working right now, like with the rabbit holes on Reddit that we talked about, with the algorithms on Facebook and Instagram, because if you believe a certain thing, then the more you look at that one thing, the more they show you that one thing. So you're not getting the other information just by nature of the way that the computer is filtering your information.
For sure.
Which is, I think, one reason why some of the tech companies are moving towards a form of censorship, although they're privately owned companies, so it's not government censorship. But they want to shut down platforms that are spreading misinformation that might tap into algorithms so that that's the only information you see. that's why they think you might have to shut that down so that you see more of the factual evidence about a healthcare epidemic. I don't think this is easy to fix. I think that what Stephen's saying I really like, which is that you've gone to school for theoretically 12 years to be able to understand the difference between truth and lies. And the internet might be a wild west, but you do have the tools to understand what is factual and what's a false conspiracy theory that you shouldn't follow. But I think that's a lot harder in the real world, whereas Michael was bringing up, there are these complex algorithms that make it really hard to escape sort of this tunnel vision. And as all of you were saying, there are these theories that we want to believe are true because they match how we view the world, especially who to trust and not, and who to not trust. And so it's amazingly difficult, and people who are in charge of running the internet are weighing these options all the time, especially to create a culture where we can all talk about things that are somewhat factually based, right? So we only have maybe 5 more minutes. Are there any other things that anybody has been dying to ask? The chat keeps asking me if I am a lizard person, and I'm not.
I think, yeah. Oh no, you weren't. You're not gonna reveal that today.
Well, I was about to say I'm not, but then in conspiracy theories, that would mean that I am because I'm denying it.
By saying you're not, you are confirming that you are. And by dropping off the call, we know the CIA is watching. So I think we've confirmed a lot of conspiracy theories. I think we've disputed a lot of them. And yeah, we're almost out of time. So I just love everybody could go through and just summarize. For anybody that's watching that wants a little recap. What you got out of today's show, and where you're going to go from there as far as conspiracy theories go. So we can start with you, Stephen.
Okay. I think the biggest so this show was basically a lot of people who are interested in conspiracies, whether or not they're true or not, kind of just coming together and having a discussion about them, which is probably the message I want to send out to the public, is that we should have conversations about them, and all ideas, because that's how we're gonna become better Americans, better citizens of the world, and make progress, is if we have those discussions. I do also want to say that, again, I don't think it's good to blindly follow or deny conspiracies. I think, again, people need to understand that maybe aspects of what is said to be true and what is a conspiracy theory, both aspects of both may have some truth to them, and they should do their research and come to their own conclusions. So
great, thanks. Michelangelo, what's your takeaways from today's show? Oh, we can't hear you.
You're muted.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Victor, what's your takeaways for today?
So I really agree with Stephen, that it's important to be more open about this and sort of talk about conspiracies, not just sort of shove them to the side. With internet censorship, I think it's definitely the way. I agree with Stephen. It's I'm really against censoring things, because then if you just push something to the side, then these people who are who believe in this are just gonna sort of become more separated, more isolated, and believe what they want to believe. And that's when things get bad, because they want to be heard, and so they'll do something else besides just post on the internet. That being said, it's still really hard for these companies to decide between what's a conspiracy theory and what's actual facts. So it's difficult, it's hard to do, but I think we should, in general, be more open.
Right.
And talk about it more.
It's only a conspiracy theory if it's not true, right? Hayden, what's your takeaways for today?
Well, I obviously was listening for most of it, but I kind of was able to establish a commonality for people who tend to believe in conspiracy theories that you can generally, find their belief. It's often rooted in fear or as a means of justifying something um, that they may not agree with or may be afraid of. And I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, I just wanted to echo what Steven said about being open minded, um, and not necessarily be outright denying these conspiracy theories, because I think that really reaffirms people's faith in said theories. So I think it's just important to have civilized discussions about it, and whether that be actually disproving a theory or just having a discussion, maybe not coming to a conclusion, but yeah.
Great. Blake, don't fall out of your chair, but give us your give us your summary for the day.
Yeah. I don't know. I've kind of come away with this kind of with the same beliefs that I had at the start. You know, conspiracy theories can be fun. They can be interesting to look into, but like with everything on the internet, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt. Nothing is 100% true. Everything can be spun one way or another. You always got to look at like two sides of every story, because there always are at least two. I think that there are some conspiracies that can be really detrimental, but I think on the whole, kind of as everyone else is saying, media censorship isn't the way to go. That's not the way to stop these bad conspiracies. It kind of starts more with open conversation, getting more people to participate in the conversation to debunk or prove these conspiracies.
Great. Thanks. Michelangelo, did you get your mic working or no? No. Okay. He's been silenced by the CIA. So thank you so much. What's your message? You heard all these viewpoints from all the panelists. What's your message for everybody?
Gosh, I think they've covered it pretty well, that we're attracted to conspiracy theories because we like to play with what's true and what's not. And there's a history of our government doing things that should make us question authority and whether or not people in power represent our interests. But it's messy, right? That some conspiracy theories are fun, some have real life impacts on society. And so our task as just citizens is to make sure that we're informed and that we can inform others, and that we can make sure that we can determine the difference between what is true and what is not, even though it's okay to question things as well. And so I think everybody here really came down to a similar agreement that we value conversation, and we value talking about things that are serious political matters, while acknowledging that some of those conspiracy theories could go too far.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Neville-Shepard. I appreciate you joining us. Your expertise was most welcome. Your insight. I also encourage everybody here and everybody watching, just Google him. He's got a lot of articles out there. There's some podcasts out there you can hear. If you want to learn more about conspiracy theories, dig deeper into the rhetoric, dig deeper into anything, check him out. So from everybody here, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Kids Are Talking.